Why is it not letting me do this? Today's the 29th, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. It is literally not letting me start the show. All right, we are live on Facebook. Thank you guys for joining us. Bear with us as we get it going on X. Don't know really what's going on. All right, let me just try this. Why is it giving me details? One second, and this is why we start early. I bet you that's it. I think it's because the live got started before the space got started.
Okay.
So, good lesson learned.
Yes.
All right, everybody, welcome. Glad to see that the live stream is going. Again, bear with us. We're learning things. We apparently could not get the space going because we got the live stream going first. So, lessons learned. Again, this is what I think show 8 or 9 that we've been doing it live. So we learn something every week. Rox, how do you hear me? Senorita Roxy, how do you hear me? Well, we're off to a banner start. Outstanding. Southern, glad to have you, sending you a co-host invite. Okay, so Rox, you're hearing me loud and clear. I got that via chat. Southern sent you the co-host invite. Jeff, glad to have you here as well. Southern, how do you hear me, ma'am? That might be the problem when I have the mute button. Okay, we're doing all types of wonderful technical issues today. All right, Dr. A, welcome. Sending you a mic. All right, and I can't believe you guys are just dialed out. I mean, on the modern cultural agenda of Citizen Vigilante. But while we start to build the audience and repost the space, hey, what we just learned is that we've got to start the space on X before we go to the live stream first. So anyway, that's why I was having issues. That's why it's probably a different space than the one people are trying to log into, because I just created a new space. I couldn't make it work. Now, am I actually on the live cast still? Valerio?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, Drax, good to have you. Hope he comes in. Anyway, so how was your weekend, Miss Southern? Are you melting in the Florida temperatures?
It is definitely hot. We had a good weekend. He got to go to the movies, so he's happy.
Got to do what? Go to the movies?
Yeah.
And was it Toy Story 5?
So we did see Toy Story 5. He also got to see The Mandalorian because he really wanted to see it.
That's good. Well, I'm a big Mandalorian fan, so I kind of like that. All right, what about you, Rox? What'd you do this weekend?
I had a weekend. I was just
sitting
for most of it again. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait, it's Monday. At least Monday. Remember Monday.
Yep, it is definitely Monday. All right, what about you, Dr. A? What'd you do?
Celebrated my youngest birthday. Woohoo!
Okay, so yeah, I saw that picture of you two on X. You guys both look good together. So this past weekend, I did everything I've always wanted to do, and that was nothing on Sunday. On Saturday, I went to church, and then I went to go deal with my boat. So we're trying to, I've got some trailer issues with it, and then I'm trying to get it resurfaced in time to get it on the water for the 4th of July weekend. So that was a good thing to do. So what is your go-to movie candy, Southern? Or do you not let him have candy?
No, he's allowed it. We just watch what he eats. He likes the Skittles gummies. He just found out.
Ah, Skittles gummies. Yeah, my boy liked Skittles quite a bit back in the day. So my go-to is either Reese's Pieces or Junior Mints. What about you, Southern? What's your go-to?
Raisinette.
Go like what?
Mine is Raisinette.
Ah, no. The only raisins I like are golden raisins in a salad. What about you, Rox?
Lifesaver gummies or chewy sweet tarts.
I do like chewy sweet tarts quite a bit, especially the big ones, quite a bit. But I don't take those to movies. Those are more on like long car drives for me. That way you get that nice sugar rush to keep you awake. What about you, Dr. A? What's your go-to movie candy? You don't strike me as the candy type.
Yeah, no, I haven't done movie candy in probably 40 years. If I do candy, I do get cravings for chocolate. I like the skinny dip dark chocolate cocoa almonds or just some dark chocolate covered almonds.
You know, if I'm in the mood for chocolate, which is pretty rare, I am a big fan of chocolate covered coffee beans. Those are quite delicious. So
I used to be.
All right.
Long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
I can't eat espresso beans at 9 o'clock at night.
Well, I do understand that too. But again, those, when you're a pilot flying for a commercial airliner, it's a little boring, and they do kind of want you to stay awake up in that cockpit. I'm just saying.
That would work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you guys prefer your pilots be awake up there in the cockpit. So, all right, Southern, we'll start with you. What are your 4th of July plans?
Ask me Thursday night.
Okay.
We are so bad about making plans.
So you don't know what you're doing Thursday night, or what are you doing?
No, like I have no idea what we're doing for July 4th. All I know is he absolutely hates fireworks, so it won't involve that.
All right. Well, what about you, Rox? What are your 4th of July plans?
Hoping my medical stuff stops like limiting me because I've had like 1 or 2 okay days, but if so, I'm gonna go visit some friends and hopefully see a giant fireworks show if it works out. So keep your fingers crossed, pray for me.
Will
also,
do.
by the way, guys, if you can, please share out the space. We're gonna go live here in about 8 minutes. Yep. And if you want to come up and interact with Larry on his live show, you are more than welcome as long as you don't look like a bot. But share it out, repost it, quote post it, and we will share your quote post. Thank you.
All right. What about you, Dr. A? What are your plans?
So my parents' little small town does an amazing fireworks show every year. And this year it's supposed to be extra phenomenal because they were like nominated one of the greatest small towns in America. So we will be there. We can watch the fireworks and have a barbecue at their house. It'll be fun.
All right. So my little neighborhood that I live in, we pay like an exorbitant amount in homeowners association dues. And I'm pretty convinced that about 80% of that goes into the fireworks display. It is actually pretty phenomenal, but that's on the 1st. The 3rd is a Friday. So my plan is to get the boat in the water Friday morning and keep it on the water because I've got a friend that has some properties with multiple docks out there. For the 4th of July weekend. And then a guy that supported me politically and urged me to run, he himself hosts a giant fireworks show. He's been doing it for years. So the plan is to be out there for the 4th of July. And then on the 5th, I haven't been able to see my dad for a while because he wasn't feeling well on Father's Day. So I'm probably drifting over towards Eagle Mountain. Not decided whether or not the boat will be in tow. It just depends. So we shall see. But that's my plan. All right, the rules of the space are pretty simple. I know we went to the question a little bit early, but don't talk over me or anyone else that's speaking, or Dr. A or Southern or Rox. Don't talk too long or we'll give you a ding. We haven't had to do that in a pretty long time. And then obviously don't use any profanity. I say obviously, but there's a lot of profanity pretty much everywhere in life. I mean, even the president of the United States has uttered the F word a couple of times, which I didn't think I would ever hear in my lifetime. So, no word yet on whether mom has scolded him. I'll have to ask. So if she wrote a letter telling the president not to cuss, she might have. I would not put it past her. Anyway, so we are still a little bit early. What else is going on in the world that's like Southern? What have you been talking about on your spaces?
Sorry. Mostly it's been SCOTUS lately, and it'll be SCOTUS again today. But other than that, generally at night we just kind of like to hang out and hear how everybody's day is gone and what they've noticed going on in the world. Because the news has been so quiet, we really haven't been discussing much.
Yeah, when I was going through what I wanted to put on the show, I would say that, I thought about Iran, but honestly, I'm bored with Iran. I mean, shocker, they're violating the treaty. Shocker, they're continuing to attack and they haven't really surrendered. I mean, we know that. That being said, I did send Voices from the East an invitation to see if she wants to come on next week. So I'm not saying I won't talk Iran because we never know what might happen in the next few days. But right now I'm kind of bored with that story, if that makes sense. What about you, Rox? You been in any spaces? What have they been talking about?
Not really, but the huge, besides hating on an entire country and its people, like I don't know, there's not a propaganda push there or something. You're probably getting paid, or complaining about something not going right because they don't even pay attention to what's going on around them. They just still feel like it's this or that, and it's like, no, that's happening, that is happening. Or other stuff like basic stuff, I've heard about that here and there. And then for the most part, it really is calm, but I've also just been away from the app a lot because I don't feel good.
Nope, I totally get it. What about you, Dr. A? You've been in the Punch Bowl. What's been driving their show lately?
No, I haven't been in for the past week or so. I've been dealing with my sleep schedules and issues with my own body. So
now,
nope.
I don't think I understood last week. So you got concussed by raising your head into the trunk of a car?
Well, it's not a matter of raising my head. It's a matter of stepping forward. Yes. Just walking.
It can be dangerous. Forgive me for making fun of you. There was a fighter pilot. His call sign was Fumble. And apparently he was surprised when he had a prostate check by the doctor. And so he raised up and I don't know how he did it, but he banged his head into a bookcase in some way or something he banged his head into, and he got a cut. And so his call sign became finger up my bottom, lose an eye, fumble. So that was his call sign. He was actually really good pilot. Incredible hands. So, and I'm sure that's what he thought about the doctor too. Boom. All right, everybody, we are about 2 minutes from getting started, but we'll go ahead and crank it up anyway. This is the Reckoning 29 June show number 332, and 1 hour of unfiltered political truth starts now. Now, there is a show that's out right now, and last week I watched it. It is called Citizen Vigilante, and I have a few comments on this. I encourage all of you to watch it. And I understand that Elon actually streamed the movie for free on X for 48 hours, but that window's closed now. Now, the production value is not quite, I'm going to call it perfect Hollywood. There are some special effect sequences that are a little lacking, and the dialogue is sketchy in places. It has a gratuitous sex scene that has no business really being in the movie. But it's still pretty darn good. So I'm going to tell you why I think it's a good movie. To me, it's a good movie because it's a clarion call to rebellion against tyranny. Now, in the preamble to the Constitution, the reasons we formed our government are listed. To form a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty, which should be to walk around in anything you want without the fear of being raped. Now, does our government actually achieve any of those goals stated in the preamble? I submit to you, it does not. Now, as in the movie, we live in a society where the truly lawless are protected by our politicians, some of our law enforcement, many district attorneys, and even our judges. This is the central message of the movie, and the protagonist's quote and actions are his response to these lawless conditions. He clearly states, "I do this for you until you learn to do it for yourself." Now, why is his violence necessary? His violence is necessary because of the second main thematic point in the movie, which is that the entire judicial system is no longer there to protect the innocent and bring justice, but rather it exists solely to control you. Now, you can deny this all you want, but the simple fact is not one FBI agent stood up against the political persecution of Americans. Not one sheriff stopped the political arrests. Not one police officer refused to arrest J6ers. Not one judge refused to hear the case, or even better, dismiss the case. No prosecutor stood up and said, "I will not bring this because it's a violation of the Constitution." Our own sheriff here in Denton County did nothing when they arrested Stuart Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers, and he will do nothing to protect our constitutional rights if the FBI tells him to take away our guns. And I guarantee you his office will cooperate when they come to arrest conservatives in 2028 if we don't win the presidency. He is a sheriff that refuses to look at evidence. He told someone directly, "I don't need to see the evidence." And he takes any incumbent's word. How do I know that? Because he was an active super spreader of my opponent's disinformation during the last campaign, and he has stood against every champion of liberty in our county and with every incumbent. Sheriff Tracy Murphy must be voted out of office. Now, tyranny. Let's get back from the micro to the macro. Tyranny can not only be action, but inaction as well in the face of this enemy. And make no mistake, Islam is an enemy to the West, and all of its practitioners need to be deported. The invasion of the Muslims comes mainly in three waves. The first wave is when they insinuate themselves into your culture, claiming to embrace your values. And certainly they will use every cultural tool to come like a fifth column. This is what I'm going to call the Rostami phase, named after a local eye doctor. Well, he does put the eye in jihad. Now, in this phase, they are aided and abetted by our politicians passing bills like Pakistani Day, Ramadan recognition, and celebrating Eid al-Fitr. All of these things happened under Jihad Jared Patterson, who was my opponent. Now, these Muslims will pretend to be good Americans until they get their numbers up. And then they move into phase 2, which is where the true nature of their death cult begins to assert itself. Quran 23:5 and 6, 424, 3350, all permit Muslims to rape women their hand possesses. This is why it is so dangerous for a Western woman to date a Muslim. In Britain alone, over 250,000 British women, most of whom were white, have been raped this century. Mostly by Muslim men. Now, when this was announced, and I put it in the pill below, all right, the audience was stunned at the speaker's effrontery of naming Muslims as the victims, not at the number of the victims. Now, for most of this century, do you know who the Crown prosecutor was? It was a man named Keir Starmer. Now, I believe that this will soon happen here in my beloved little hamlet of Frisco. Why? It is inevitable as the sun coming up in the east. When Muslims get around 5% of the population, they start imposing their Quranic values, and they're almost there here. Now, it could have actually possibly begun, and they are merely whitewashing the numbers as they did in the last Democratic administration. Did you know that over 1,200 women were raped or sexually assaulted in one night in Germany, and the German police were told not to play that up, to downplay the numbers, and to downplay Muslim involvement? So what can we do? Now, the film makes it very clear that deportation is the moderate option. The other being citizen vigilante justice, and that is illegal. Do I think it will come to that? Absolutely, I do. It will come to that because Texas politicians will not stand up to the real problem, which is not Sharia, but the whole corrupt philosophy itself. Our law enforcement is trained to be politically correct. I saw a video of a Dearborn police chief bragging about the fact that 50% of his officers were now Arab Americans. Are they Americans or are they Muslims? I believe the two are exclusive. Will they stand up to the politicians when the politicians tell them not to arrest them? I just went through what happened to January 6ers. Yes, I'm using that as a case study. It's the most recent one. Our law enforcement will do what their masters tell them to do rather than what the Constitution demands they do. That is why I look at them skeptically now. Yes, I absolutely back the blue, and I think the man is an absolute hero who puts on that gear and goes out there for $60,000 confronting the evil in our society. But I also hold him to a higher standard in the same way that you held me as a military officer to a higher standard. So yes, I do think vigilante justice is coming to America soon because our government is failing and will do nothing to stop the problem. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this movie is, where do I always say real accountability comes? All right. How do we measure what's really going to happen in this society? Where does the money go? What do Americans spend their money on tells us what they value. All right. So I thought I'd go through a couple of respective numbers of the two films that opened this weekend. We have Supergirl, which I've told you I'm not going to see because it's woke, in my opinion. Grossed $68 million worldwide, and it cost $275 million to both make and market. Now, those are conservative numbers. Citizen Vigilante, on the other hand, cost between $750,000 and $5 million to make, and it grossed $67 million. Now, I don't know what Elon paid for the 2 days of it being free on X, but the fact that there's only $1 million in difference between a superhero blockbuster summer movie and a movie made on a pretty low budget should tell Hollywood something. When are they going to wake up? It's real simple. Conservative movies make money and woke drivel loses money. There will be another case test of that on the 3rd. All right, on the 3rd, I forgot. So that's what I'm doing the evening of the 3rd. I have tickets to go see Young Washington. So I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, we'll talk about this in just a second. But before we do, I need to bring up our sponsor, Texans for Judicial Accountability. It's a nonprofit dedicated to judicial reform. They passed a constitutional amendment to give citizens control over our judiciary last session. This session, their goal is to get cameras in the court to protect us from bad judges like the one in Citizen Vigilante. Donate to them at texansforjudicialaccountability.org. Now, I know that nobody has seen this show, unfortunately, out of my co-hosts. But you got a chance to look at, I think, Rox, you said you did look at, the clip where he is confronting a Muslim family who were all in one way or another complicit in the rape of a European girl. They don't really specify which country in Europe. So what did you think of that scene?
Well, horrified because one of them is a woman herself saying like it's okay because of how the girls dress. It's okay to rape them, which is horrifying. But I know that's kind of like how, they're all grown up in that culture where, rape is normal for them, but it doesn't make an excuse because they should know better. Like, I'm so tired of people giving excuses for, I don't care where you're from or how you're raised. That is just wrong. If you hurt innocents, you're wrong. I don't care. And anybody making an excuse for them like that, or like because the girl asked for it because of what she was wearing, is completely just moronic to me. Like, that is just a terrible thing. It's not okay to hurt somebody, especially an innocent, ever.
I know, and basically, this story was pretty much repeated a lot in Britain. 250,000, $250,000. 250,000 women were raped in Britain in the last 20 years. That is phenomenal. Why hasn't somebody done something like this man before? I mean, I'm telling you right now, I would have been in jail for a very long time if someone had hurt my daughter. It would not have worked out well for them. All right. And what I would have done to them, they would have written about in history books. All right. It would have made Vlad Tepes look like he was running a daycare. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Southern, I know you host spaces. Have you been hearing about this movie? Why haven't you seen it? And Jeff, I'll come to you after Dr. A.
I know some of the people that I talk to on a regular basis have seen it. I didn't have a chance to see it while Elon had it out, and this is not something I can generally watch with my kids.
No.
So I have to be kind of careful that I watch in front of them.
No, you absolutely cannot watch this in front of the kids. They did have a sex scene in there, and Dr. A and I were joking about it, saying that it was for the men. Honestly, no. I'm not attracted to, if you take a personal size watermelon, cut it in half, and then graft it beneath a woman's skin, it just doesn't do much for me. So, Dr. A, I know you have not seen the movie. Do you plan to watch it?
After hearing the description, no. I don't do well with violent movies. I really don't.
It's violent.
Both with my own trauma history and being an empath, I just can't handle the energy.
No, I understand that. That being said, it's interesting to me that it is the #1 downloaded movie on Amazon. I don't know about Apple. If somebody can look that up and see, but I think this movie is touching on a cultural hot point both here and in Europe. As a matter of fact, it was banned in Germany and banned in Britain. I mean, have these geniuses never heard of the Streisand effect? It's unbelievable. Go ahead, Rox, and then I'll go to Jeff.
I just wanted to mention that someone did post the entire movie on a link in the Purple Pill. If you guys want to check it out, I'm with Dr. A, though. I'm going to need someone to hold my hand and walk me through that if I even try.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough opening. I will tell you that. I mean, it wastes no time right off the bat. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to remind you, Colonel, that a lot of people are being thrown in jail for nothing, sort of like they did to you. Nothing. And a whole lot of people that are doing a whole lot of something are getting nothing. And if it was up to me, I'd throw all the rapists in general population in a lesson. I'll yield, sir.
No, if you commit a sexual crime in prison, you're probably pretty likely to have one committed on you. I will just leave it at that. Go ahead, Dr. A.
In answer to your question, it climbed as high as #2 on Apple TV charts.
All right. That is not surprising to me. I bought it and downloaded it off of Apple TV, so I have it. All right, go ahead, Mr. Kirk.
Good morning. Yeah, interesting space. I haven't watched the movie. I watched the first maybe 2 minutes, and it's very disturbing. I got a couple quick things to say. I'm from Canada. I also served in the Canadian Armed Forces Ranger.
Yes, sir.
I've been in exile for 7 years. And I posted, there's a Major Tony Ledsham. He was a fighter pilot. And in Canada, he's being raked through the coals for exposing corruption. So if you could have a look at him. And also, Pat King is another, he was a part of the convoy. And him and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But he is hosting an interview with one of the actors from that movie. It's coming up. I'll try to post the link if you don't mind in the Purple
No,
Filter.
don't mind that at all. So go ahead.
Thanks for having this space. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more. Thanks for adding me, Gur Panda, there. And I've been in exile for 7 years for trying to report corruption in Canada through the military, and it ruined my life. But I'm not complaining. Like, my life got better recently in the last 3 years. I was able to bounce back. But corruption is rampant in Canada. We really need your help. Bless you all, and thanks for letting me speak, because a lot of people don't. And
yes, sir.
I answer all questions. Thanks again.
No, not at all. I'm very jingoistic. I look at the world through red, white, and blue glasses. I would like to see Western Canada become America. I don't know if you live in the West or East, but that's just how I feel about it. Why? Because you got oil, and I value the people of Alberta. I've actually met them in person. I've been to Eastern Canada, and I think they're more in tune with Northeastern liberals in our country, whereas I view Albertans, Saskatchewans, and I don't know other than Vancouver. I think you're mostly Texans.
Are you from Texas?
Yes.
Okay, I worked for Schlumberger for years. I was a contractor for them in Fort Mac. They were a great company. Actually, I was a fairly big contractor for them in Canada and Alberta. All the way, I actually worked for them in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And we're the same. I love those guys. And, I don't know about becoming a state, because I am still serving. I've never been legally released from the Canadian Armed Forces, but we're very similar. A lot of us. I wish we had more. Man, I could go on for hours.
I know. But
I'll leave it alone, and perhaps we'll talk later. But thank you.
Bet. Again. Yeah, we do need to move on to the next topic. I want to talk a little bit about Agenda 47. It's what I threatened last week. Now, I often put my laser beam of discontent on the Democrats, or the communists, as I call them, and on the Muslims very often, and it will continue. But I thought I'd point it at Agenda 47. And so what I did is I took a look at Agenda 47, and then I also looked at the Republican Party's national platform, because I was thinking there might be a difference between the two. Well, it's a little bit different in that President Trump's campaign team basically drove the Republican national platform, and that's not the way it worked in Texas. What I saw was the platform being driven by the grassroots, by the county platforms, and then getting together and putting together the agenda. And theoretically, the representatives and the governor would enact the agenda of the people as represented in the Republican Party. All right, so that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, I did not look at Project 2025 because that was an independent conservative think tank's proposed agenda for President Trump. Now, all three of these things interlink, but basically Agenda 47 was the Republican Party's national platform. It was the source document for it. So, where are we on the 20 things that are in there? Now, I've asked each of my co-hosts to rate them as we go through these top 20 things the Trump administration said they were going to do. Now, what I did is I took all of it and I ran it through Grok, telling Grok, hey, give me a grade between 0 and 100. Now, I probably should have said a letter grade, but I didn't. So we're going to go through and we'll see what the Grok rating was, with 100 being accomplished and 0 being not accomplished, and then we will comment on it. So, number 1 on Trump agenda number 47 was to seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Grok gave it an 88 out of 100. Now, to me, it is a significant success. Unauthorized crossings are at historic lows. 0 is pretty low. I don't know how you get better than that. Wall construction is advanced with major funding, and releases into the U.S. have been halted for extended periods, and enforcement resources have surged. Now, there are some challenges that remain, but I think 88 is a little bit of a low grade. To me, I would go with a much higher grade. All right, so, that's the way I feel about it. What about you, Dr. A?
I gave it a 95, sir. I think he has done a phenomenal job, and Supreme Court rulings earlier this week assisted in his ability to continue removing where the court has tried to stop him.
Yeah, of course they do. And you're going to cover those Supreme Court rulings here in just a little bit. I don't know that immigration was one of those. All right, what about you, Southern? What do you think? Has he been successful in sealing the border and stopping the migrant invasion?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 95 on it.
All right, and Rox, you?
Yeah, I'm about the same. I think he's done phenomenal and proved to the entire world, or the country mostly, that it can be done very easily, and also proving that Biden was more of a joke.
Absolutely. No question on that one. All right. So now the next one is carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. On this one, the AI rated him at 72 out of 100. Now, he's setting a record pace with over 600,000 formal deportations plus millions of self-deportations returns in the first 18 months. Interior arrests have quadrupled. Okay, in other words, just by a factor of 4. But it still doesn't even meet the absolute largest in U.S. history by some historical comparisons. However, it is a pretty aggressive modern effort. Now, again, not my phrase. This is the historical name of it, Operation Beaner, all right, which was instituted during the Eisenhower administration to kick the Mexicans out of the southern states to get jobs back to returning servicemen. I believe is still the largest deportation effort. So computer gave him a 72. I will give him a much lower grade on this one. I would give him probably about a 60 because we need more and we need it quicker. All right, get there first with the most. If we shut off all welfare to them, they would self-deport. Okay, we could say you're getting no more welfare, no more housing, no more medical, no more food, but we'll buy you a plane ticket and see how fast they all leave. All right, Dr. A, what are your thoughts on this one?
So I agree with both of your points. Even Obama was on record for having a higher record of removals. However, again, and as you said, cut off welfare and watch them flee. They never should have been able to be eligible for welfare,
Absolutely.
But that's another point. And again, this goes back to the courts intervening and trying to stop Trump from deporting. And my point on the Supreme Court on that one, sir, was their last week, their Wednesday decisions. There were 2 that impacted Trump's ability to deport.
Again, you know, it's very frustrating that the court continues to get in his way. What did I say? The court is no longer about justice and protecting the innocent. It is a control mechanism. All right, Southern, go ahead.
Real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
The Supreme Court actually ruled that the lower courts do not even have a role in the TPS hearings.
Totally agree. TPS. Sorry. Have you filled out your TPS report, Dr. A? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
No, sir.
All right. You got to watch it. Here's your homework for the weekend. Since you're not going to watch Citizen Vigilante, watch Office Space. It is a classic. All right. And in the military, it is, I would say, probably as important as your training manual that you understand that. I mean, we literally joking made things named TPS reports just so we could say that phrase to have you filled out your TPS report. All right, Southern, what is your thoughts on the deportation operation?
I'm actually going to give him a slower. I'm going to get a 45. I didn't like his numbers when they started announcing what they were potentially going to be, and I think they're going to be even lower than what they expected.
I agree.
What they had announced.
Yes, ma'am.
That way.
So, you know, we say that roughly 20 million people came in. What would success look like in your mind? 20 million, 15 million, 10 million? I mean,
at least 10.
I agree with you. I think at least 10 is what success would look like. What about you, Rox?
I don't know. I feel like I would rate him a little higher because I think he is, like Dr. A was saying, getting a lot of pushback from the courts and the legal systems and everything trying to jump in his way. I know a lot of people took that, we'll give you $2,000 and, you know, flee right back to your country. I think that's good. That's incentive. It's a lot cheaper overall than trying to hunt them down and figure everything out and then have to battle the entire court systems or the legal systems when they're trying to stop that. So I think he's doing what he can as fast as he can, with in mind that, you know, there are families and stuff like that could be affected, but the incentives he gave is a lot cheaper overall. I think it's positive. I think we should probably give a little bit more or, you know, speed it up some because they need to go. I just know it is a difficult process. So maybe like 65-70% rating.
Yes, ma'am. I'm right there with you. Jeff, I saw you had your hand up. Did you take it down?
I was just saying that I give Trump about a 85, considering the border was wide open under President Biden, and President Trump is tasked with dealing with the Democrats who are very, very crooked, and they're all criminals, and they work against him 24/7, 365 to keep it open. And our goal is to completely eliminate the CCP and the cartel out of all drug business, pseudoephedrine, fentanyl, all of it. We're going to eliminate them permanently. That's our goal.
No, I agree. And that's why we all gave him, really good grades on closing the border, but deportation is a separate issue. And so, to me, I bifurcate the two and give him a great grade on closing the border, but a bad grade on the deportation. All right. We'll come to you in a second, Marcio. All right. The next one is end inflation and make America affordable again. Now, inflation cooled initially. All right. But then it faced upward pressure. Now they're blaming it on tariffs, which is definitely a little bit, but other factors such as the Federal Reserve also came into play. All right. And then having to pay the cost of the Fed not doing what the economy told it to in the election led to a little bit higher inflation. And I think it was starting to break. Things were getting very affordable, namely because of the success of a topic we'll talk about later, being energy. All right. But what happened? The war with Iran came and it completely messed up this metric. So in my opinion, I'm going to say it's still out for further review. Grok gave it a 48 out of 100 rating. So I don't know where his policies have actually put us, because war is a different matter entirely. And I do think it needed to be waged, which was also one of Agenda 47's issues. So again, these things, of course, all tie together. We know that, but I don't know. I don't know how he's doing on inflation because we can't really tell. All right, Dr. A, what about you?
So I gave it a 65, but to be fair, I would say all of these are still in review. Trump still has 2 years left, and we're just now starting to get some of the SCOTUS decisions that will allow him to act. So, the court, the Federal Reserve, they're all trying to resist him. So I gave him a 65 at current, and he's still working towards it. Powell is now no longer the Fed chair, but he's staying on as he's on the board. So we're not done with him.
No, I totally agree with you. My issue is I really believe that if he doesn't get it accomplished by year 2, it's probably not going to happen, because I think the communists are going to take the lower chamber of the House. I really do. And it's going to be nothing but impeachment after impeachment after impeachment, to the point where I think we're going to get so frustrated with them that it will be a massive red wave in 28. So that's just my working theory right now, is that Republicans are going to stay home. Democrats are highly motivated to vote, and we're going to get a shellacking. And I'm saying that, telling you right now that my little 2 feet will be out block walking my neighborhood for every Republican candidate that is on the ticket for me, with one exception. All right. Now, did I skip anyone on that one? I don't think I did.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Both your co-hosts.
All right, go ahead. Southern, you go first. I apologize, ladies.
I'll just give him a 50 at this point, because it's still under review. Like, there's so much to still do, and I can't hold the war against him.
I'm with you on that one. Rox?
Kind of the same. I'll give him about 70-75%, because look at how fast the oil prices are dropping as soon as we have a little bit of positive. I know it is a world market. It is complicated. But, yeah, the whole Iran conflict, because I'm not going to call it a war, it was an unexpected monkey wrench with the timing with midterms coming up at that point. So I think it's just a little bit of patience, but watch how fast he always turns it around. And, again, it's like everybody freaks out with 3 months of anything he does. But what about the freak out over 4 years of complete chaos? Like, I don't understand it.
Absolutely.
It's like an agenda being pushed.
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. All right. Number 4, make America the dominant energy producer in the world. Now, Grok gave the president 92 out of 100. It was actually the highest rating that they gave him. To me, this is a record high U.S. oil, gas, and total energy production. We lead globally with all-time highs in output, policies, accelerated deregulation, and increasing leases. And then there is the fact that we now have de facto control over Venezuelan oil. I absolutely agree with this being the highest grade of anything, and I am very thankful for it. And gas for me just crept back below $3 a gallon, so I was very happy to see that when I went to the pump the other day. All right, what about you, Dr. A?
I agreed with Grok on this one, sir, and I live in the communistic state of California with Governor Newsom putting gas taxes on us. I paid $4.75 at the pump yesterday.
Wow. I don't know how you guys afford it out there. I really don't. But Billy Bob Thornton said a very similar thing. All right, Rox, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, hold on.
Dominant.
We outsourced for the dominant power, energy power. Yes, I think we're doing great, and we're showing, and we have to do that. And it kind of ties in with your next one too. But like, we have one of the biggest countries in the world, and we have to like show that, and we have to be dominant and rely on ourselves instead of everything else, because that was also a communist agenda, like outsourcing every single thing to other countries where they can use it to smack us with. And we have to reverse that, and he's doing great. I think Grok is right on this one.
No, I agree with you. Go ahead, Southern. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Oh, I'm agreeing with Grok on this one.
All right, what is gas in Florida?
It's accurate.
I think it's like almost to
Very often, I'm gonna.
$3. All right, good.
Ours is a little bit high.
All right.
So I'm not on the coast
Okay.
as quickly as everybody else.
All right, that makes sense. All right, the fifth one, stop outsourcing and turn the U.S. into a manufacturing superpower. Grok gave the president a rating of 55 out of 100. Now, there have been reshoring pledges and tariffs aimed at this, but manufacturing job losses have continued. That could be because of trade tensions. And we really haven't made the progress I was hoping to see by now. But to Dr. A's point earlier, Rox's point, it's only been 2 years. So to my knowledge, only one factory has been outsourced, and that went to China. But as I said, manufacturing jobs have continued to decline. Now, I think 55 is a little low given the historic investment in America and the cycle that takes time. All right, so I give him a D. So I gave him a 65. What about you, Dr. A?
So Trump's first term was an amazing success towards this effort, but COVID absolutely slashed and lost every bit of gain. So we're still trying to recover. I agree with your assessment, though. More like a D.
You know, how long are economists and Democrats going to continue to use COVID as an excuse? I mean, that was eons ago. All right. Now, to be fair, I still see people walking around in masks like lemmings, but I always tell myself maybe they have some type of personal health issue. All right, Rox, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm there with you guys, and I think it's going to get there. Probably one of those where we're stacking how many agendas are the most important right away for the first 2 years.
Yep.
Hopefully, it looks more positive for the midterms, but historically, there's always that gloom and gloom. So, what is something that he can work on the last 2 years if we do lose the House or the Senate, and have all this pushback? I think that would be where he can focus more without as much pushback. But you never know. I have no idea. I haven't seen this much fighting against presidential anything until Trump walked into the office, because he can't be controlled.
No, I'm right there with you, and I think that really is the issue too, is that the deep state knows that he's not their man. Go ahead, Southern. Your thoughts, ma'am?
I'm going to agree with everybody on the grading, as far as just because of the promises that have been made by so many countries to bring manufacturing here.
Yes, ma'am. All right, number 7, defend the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and freedoms, speech, religion, right to bear arms. Grok gave him a rating of
6, sir.
Did I? I did. I apologize. All right, large tax cut for workers and no tax on tips. Grok gave him a 78 out of 100. To me, this is kind of binary. He delivered. Now, I don't know about the time frames, etc., so I gave him a 90 on this one. I don't know what more the president could have done. I don't understand why it's a 78 out of 100. All right. What about you, Dr. A?
I agree with you, sir. He delivered. Grok sucked on this one.
I totally agree. All right, Southern, ma'am?
I'm actually going to go to 70 because I don't know about the no tax on tips because I didn't really deal with that one, but the no tax on overtime really wasn't a no tax. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's weighted. It's definitely not a no tax on overtime. I'll just leave it that way.
No, okay. No, that's good to know. And, the only question I would ask is, was the bill written as no tax on overtime and then it got modified? Probably, but it doesn't excuse it. If you promise something, you're supposed to deliver. All right, Rox, what about you?
Well, since I am a disabled vet, I don't have to pay taxes anymore, but I've heard some stories, and it's kind of funny that, the left will only push the, oh my God, he's in it for the rich people. I've actually, everything that's been done is people who are in that higher bracket actually still kind of hurts them. Like, they're not catching your break. So it's literally like what the Democrats complain about all the time, right? So I think he is successful for the people it needs to be successful for, but he's done what he could, and I think I would rate it a lot higher because it is a complicated system and a complicated process, but I think it's literally everything that anybody would want to do, and you got to learn the codes and all the systems too on top of it because there's always loopholes to loopholes.
Nope, you're not wrong on that one. All right, now let's get to number 7. Defend the Constitution, Bill of Rights and Freedoms. Speech, religion, right to bear arms. Grok gave them a 65 out of 100. They say that President Trump's actions advance religious liberty and Second Amendment priorities. I do think that's true, and I think the people he appointed were more important. But they say his free speech efforts have been mixed amid the ongoing cultural and campus debates, and polarization persists. They're shooting our people on campuses. We haven't gone far enough to deal with the left and their desire to censor us. So I do think that this is, not his issue, really. I think he has been solid, even in the face of outright lying by the fake news. So I give him an A on this one. I give him a 95. What about you, Dr. A?
I agree. Trump's second administration, especially bringing in Harmeet Dillon, has been the strongest in American history at protecting Second Amendment rights and putting those, their philosophy of getting everything they can through the Supreme Court in order to, solidify those rights or those bills or those laws so that the next president can't come in and just sweep it away. So I am exceptionally appreciative for the rulings that have come through the Supreme Court over the last few years. And his appointment of those 3 Supreme Court justices during his first term, yes, we can all say Amy Coney Barrett's lukewarm, but they are more textualist in their interpretations than SCOTUS's prior. We have one nasty one that came in with Biden, obviously, that doesn't even know the Constitution, but we'll deal with that.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Southern, what are your thoughts? Has he done a good job protecting our freedoms?
I would give him a 95.
All right, outstanding.
He seems to be going good.
All right, Rox, any issues that would keep him from getting 100? What do you see?
Not him. Maybe like individual states and their policies, if anything, but I think he's doing the most overall. And if anything, I think he's also giving the confidence to certain officials to stand up for our constitutional rights instead of like folding, like, oh no, if I do this, it's going to hurt someone's feelings. It's like, F your feelings and let's go. And it's our constitutional rights. And it's what makes us the best country in the world. We have to protect them.
I'm right there with you. I actually heard someone say that the other day. It was an attorney that he's a big time 2A advocate, including carrying into the courtroom where he practices. And he said a bailiff was trying to stop him and said, well, I feel this. And that's exactly what he said is blank your feelings. The Constitution's here and we're going to live by it. All right. Number 8 is prevent World War III, restore peace, and build an Iron Dome missile defense. I haven't really heard much about an Iron Dome missile defense. I'm kind of wondering if that's a Star Wars project for the Chinese. In other words, to try and bankrupt them. So let's put that one aside. And I thought it was supposed to be a Golden Dome missile defense. All right. Now, have there been any major U.S. wars? Kind of not. There obviously are some diplomacy and some ongoing conflicts, but I give him an 85. All right. And the reason for that is a short-term war with Iran was necessary, or conflict, in deference to Roxy, to prevent an atomic apocalypse. Iran gets a nuke, lobs it at Israel. Israel will obliterate Iran. Okay, I mean, they will grid that bad boy off and drop so many nukes on it that it won't even exist anymore. So I very much think he did the right thing here. And I think he's also resisted the urge to put troops on Iranian soil. So far, I'm giving him, I would say about an 85. All right, what about you, Dr. A?
So real quick, on June 23rd, so again, last week, sir, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced the first milestone test of the Golden Dome for America was a full mission success. And he said he was honored to have witnessed it. Also, Trump, Middle East tensions will always be there. That cannot be our measure of success. But the Abraham Accords, which Trump passed during his first administration, were bold and unconventional. They were literally beyond anyone's expectations for what he could accomplish in the Middle East, and he is trying to lean back into them. So I agree with your score, sir.
All right. Southern, go ahead, ma'am.
I'll go with 85. I mean, we were told that some things were going to happen with the Middle East. We can't always guarantee how they're going to react because they're not the most reliable. So I'll go ahead and give them the 85.
No, I'm with you on that one. All right, Rox, you, and then I'll come to Jeff.
I'll say about 90 to 95. I think he's doing phenomenal because preventing World War III was the conflict that had to be done at the time, or they were doing it with the threats that were being sent and made to him. As far as the Iron Dome, I do know the whole AI argument, like that has to also be in place and put up first, which is like Dr. A mentioned, it is a go. It's happening. I'm probably funding and money is going to be the biggest thing, but it's not going to be stopped. We have to have it because I'm sorry, look at how many world superpowers want to take out the United States. They've been slow and methodical. And honestly, there's a reason he created Space Force. There's a lot of threats from there too. And China's trying to dominate that. We have to be above them. We have to win them in the AI race, which we are now. But we wouldn't have had that happen if it wasn't for Trump and doing it like day one immediately. Let's go.
No, I'm with you. I totally agree with you. And I actually talk a little bit about that later on. And again, it gets to where all of these things are absolutely interrelated. All right, Jeff, go ahead, sir.
I give them about a 90%, Larry. When it comes to up top, we control this. We control the airspace. When it comes on the ground, our friends, they help us control everything on the ground. And nobody is going to get past the all-seeing eye from Greenland all the way down to the tip of South America. The Monroe Doctrine's into effect, and we're going after these people once and for all, and that's it. So I give them a 90. I go with Rox.
All right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said there. All right, let's get to number 9, in weaponization of government against the American people. Now, Grok gave him a rating of 58 out of 100. All right, it talked about, reforms and Schedule F, which allows the president to actually fire people. And then he's trying to, there's perceptions of bias reduction amongst President Trump supporters, but debates over politicization continue on both sides. All right, now I give him a much lower score on this one. All right, not one judge, not one U.S. attorney or FBI agent has been prosecuted for crimes against the American people. And yes, they committed crimes. I'm not just talking about J6. Surveilling Catholic priests giving traditional Latin Mass services. The people that thought it was okay, all right, for them to surveil school board protesters. It's abortion protesters. Thinking that it's all right to deny Americans their rights, all right, and nobody gets prosecuted. No, I give him a 20 on this one. This to me is the biggest disappointment of the Trump presidency. And let me quote him. And I went to jail for President Trump, so I am a fan and remain one. But it doesn't mean you can't criticize. He said prior to being elected the third time, actually, he goes, "I am your retribution." We need some retribution. And because we're not getting it, because nobody's hanging metaphorically, they will do it again, and it will be worse. All right, go ahead, Dr. A.
So I can personally attest to the ending of the IRS targeting of conservatives. For that, I would give it a 95. However, FBI targeting and secret surveillance of Americans completely angers and disappoints me. I realize that Trump's trying to reverse 60 plus years of internal policy, but until arrests ramp up and legislation is passed, I would agree with Grok's 58 out of 60.
58
60 out of 100.
Out of 100. All right. Southern, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm going to agree with you, Larry. I don't think the ending of anything, well, IRS, I was not thinking of IRS on this one, but the ending of using like FISA and everything else against U.S. citizens hasn't stopped. I don't think it'll ever stop, but on that, I'm still just going to give them a low score.
No, I agree. I mean, look at, Dr. A will cover it a little bit later, but there was a Supreme Court decision today where they got slapped yet again. Rox, your thoughts?
I agree with your guys' score so far. I think this is something coming. I think other things had to be put in place. Other things had to be shown, which I think it is showing it, especially the correct federal judges and the faults in the system. But I do think other things have to be in place first before anything can be done about it. And I think this next year is when something will be done about it. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's one of those things on the priority list. So the score ratings for now, I agree with. I think they're going to attempt to or try to do something about it because it has to be, because clearly, like, this is how they've infiltrated the entire system from the ground up.
All right, ladies, I gotta, Rox, I totally agree with you there. The system has got to be destroyed, and, you're giving him grace that he's putting things in place to actually take it apart. I don't know about that. So, Rox and Southern and Dr. A, we are at 48 minutes into the show, or 46 minutes into the show, and we're only on number 10. Do we want to bisect this and go through the next 10 last time? Because I do have a hard stop right around 12:05. And so that's what I think we ought to do. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm ready. Whatever you want.
Okay, that sounds good. Dr. A, you good with that?
Sure, of course.
Okay, all right. So Dr. A will come to you after this 10th one for a SCOTUS update. All right. Number 10 is stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up offenders. Now, I believe President Trump and ICE have prioritized criminal removals, cartel targeting. I think they've done that, although I don't understand still why the cartels aren't really targeted. I'm talking hunter-killer teams like we had going after ISIS. All right. Law enforcement support. All right. We need to have more notable arrests. And again, some cartel drug lords have been arrested, but I want to absolutely disrupt their network. Chinese shipping that's bringing precursor chemicals to for fentanyl production inside Mexico. Those are our ships now. Too bad. Again, I am a much more aggressive person, and I believe President Trump actually would be as well. President Trump is a good president. I want a Caesar. So, I think this is a pretty accurate number, but I want more and I want it faster, just like I wanted the deportations. Dr. A.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were jumping. Yeah, no, I agree completely.
Yeah, we're going to go through number 10, and that leaves 11 through 20 next week. Southern, all right, Southern, your thoughts, ma'am?
I agree with you, Larry. I wanted more, faster, quicker, hit them where it hurts.
All right, Rox?
About the same.
It's funny. I mean, I think all Americans are in violent agreement on this, that we want crime crushed. I mean, how can you actually be pro-cartel? Now that I think about it. So it's kind of funny, but, it doesn't really surprise me. All right, Dr. A and I independently put the show together. She's obviously out on the left coast. She's, on an island of conservatism in a sea of communism. So she started talking about the Supreme Court stuff, and I put down some stuff as if the decisions hadn't already come out. And then Dr. A on my drive into the show actually added to it and said, no, wait, some of these decisions are actually out. So, Rox, go ahead, and then I'm going to hand the show to Dr. A for a Supreme Court update.
Oh, I was just going to say Dr. A might know this, but I think I heard recently, isn't there some kind of California politician running on Make Crime Great Again? Over there on the Commie Formula West Coast.
Make crime great again? Well, that would be Gavin Newsom, but he's done.
Oh, no. I meant make crime great again, actually punish people. But it's somebody, I think in the South California. I can't remember their name, though.
That might have been Spencer Pratt, L.A. mayor.
No, it wasn't any of the ones well known. It was one of the ones with the accent, and he said it was another name. It wasn't even him. And I was like, there's another one? Yay! California might hopefully hold out.
You know, I think Elon Musk's post where he had, was it Beavis or Butthead? I think it was it was Butthead. And Gavin Newsom, the pictures of them together. Yes, there is a very, very close resemblance there. All right, Dr. A, take us into what SCOTUS has done now.
Okay, so there were 4 rulings today. I'll kind of list one and then leave it up for discussion, and then I'll list another one. So the first one was Watson v. Republican National Committee, and it was held that they kept the ruling, so the lower court ruling. It upholds or protects the grace period laws in about 30 states in D.C. for mail-in absentee ballots. They can come in days after as long as they have day of election date stamp on them. And again, while this is exceptionally disappointing, they basically pointed out that Congress needs to create a law if they want it to be different.
All right, so what they basically ruled was that mail-in ballots after the election still have to be counted as long as the postmark's before. But if Congress changes the law, then maybe we'll get what we want and have an election day, not an election month.
Hello, Save America Act. Pass it, damn it. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Now, speaking of, has your election actually closed yet?
I think so. I think they're due to do the filing in the certification this week. I thought it was June 30th. So, yeah. Should be this week.
All right. I'm glad that is actually going to happen. All right. What else did the SCOTUS get up to this morning?
All right. The second decision was Shatry versus United States. Again, the vote was 6-3, but they held the lower court's decision. Obtaining an individual's cell phone location history data through a geofence warrant constitutes a Fourth Amendment search because people have a reasonable expectation of privacy in their location information. So obviously it was a major win for digital privacy advocates. Geofence warrants used by law enforcement to get Google or Apple locations for data crimes. Obviously, Larry, this affected January 6th, folks. The majority opinion was filed by Elena Kagan. Concurring opinions, Justice Jackson, go figure. Justice Gorsuch. Dissent was Justice Alito, joined in relevant parts by Thomas and Barrett. They expressed concerns about overly broad privacy rulings hindering legitimate law enforcement, solving crimes via location data. Some dissents highlighted practical challenges for police in obtaining precise warrants for unknown suspects.
Okay, so add that to my list of grievances that I've already filed. It should be actually filed today, I think. My individual complaint in D.C. It might be next week, but I think it's this week. So that's actually a pretty good ruling. That being said, I do think geofencing is here to stay, and again, I remember one of my previous jobs was as a reconnaissance pilot, and I'm telling you right now, if you carry a cell phone, the U.S. government can locate you. I'll just leave it at that. If you really want to move, you must not have any electronic device that is linking up to anything. And that's if you could run the gamut of cameras. I'm pretty convinced privacy is dead. And, especially as a guy that ran for office and wants to do it again, I assume that all of my communications are going to be given directly to my opponent to be put on billboards to be used against me. And you notice how much it's curtailed me and how afraid I am to speak out against what is truly wrong. All right. So What's next, Dr. A? Did they rule on the transgender thing yet? Men and women's sports?
They didn't.
Okay.
No.
One more question I have is, did they rule on campaign finance?
Nope.
Okay, so those are actually pretty big that are still coming. Is there anything else that they ruled on today?
Yes. The last two were Trump v. Cook and Trump v. Slaughter.
Okay.
And these were about President Trump having the authority to fire executives. So in Trump v. Cook, they held and they denied the government's application for a stay of the district court's preliminary injunction. So Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook gets to stay in her position pending further litigation over her attempted removal. But in Cook v. Slaughter, he was allowed to fire one of the other chairs. So again, what it showed is that if something is truly under the executive branch, which the administrative offices are, Trump can fire one of the executives. But the Federal Reserve remains outside of the executive branch. So there you go. What is it then?
All right.
It's extra, it's outside of the American system.
Now, my understanding, and again, going back into this, I haven't, looked at it to see what's developed in the case, but I think she was caught in a pretty blatant case of mortgage fraud. And here's where, you got to kind of look at this from a couple of different perspectives. Yes, everybody is innocent until they are actually proven guilty in our society. So should they lose their job? When you are in a high position of public trust, especially one that deals with the financial health of America, as well as the financial institution that governs every American and their interactions with money, I'm holding you to a higher standard. And if you can't figure out that what you're doing is mortgage fraud, I have the right to replace you immediately. So I think this was a really bad decision on the court. I'm hoping that President Trump gets so upset at them for letting her stay that he just abolishes the Fed altogether. You want to talk some absolute muling from the left? I would like to see the communists come out and try and defend the institution that's probably most responsible for the prolonged suffering of people, and that is the Federal Reserve. Go ahead, Dr. A.
So I agree with you, and I think this ruling is pointing that out to people because it was heard and ruled on alongside of the Trump v. Slaughter. Just so you understand, Trump v. Slaughter, Rebecca Slaughter is the FTC commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was a nearly old century precedent that prevented the executive from being able to fire, but that was all internal. It hadn't been heard by SCOTUS. And so the chief executive was able to fire the leader of the FTC, but not with the, with the Federal Reserve. So that, again, points out to people that it's extra, it's outside of the branches of our government. It's not us.
No, you're right. So I would say that we won one, we lost two today is the way I interpret it. Actually, no, it's 2-2 because the Fourth Amendment was upheld. That's a good thing. The right of the president to fire people was upheld. The right of the Fed to exist as the slimy, absolute horrific monster that has mauled Americans and stuck its blood funnel into our throat and sucked all the lifeblood out of every American citizen. Does that tell you how I feel about the Fed? So the fact that she was actually able to stay in charge, that bothers me quite a bit. And I would say that the other one with the mail-in ballots is definitely a loss as well, but it's a battlefield loss, not a strategic loss. In that if we can get the SAVE Act passed, we'll be all right. But I want to talk a little bit about how critical.
Real quick,
go ahead.
Larry,
yes, ma'am.
They did state in the ruling that it would need to be a law passed by Congress. So they were clear in the election one that it's Congress's to act on. I shared the rulings above the summaries as well as the links to the complete rulings if anybody wants to dig in.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Now, guys, to give you an idea how important Supreme Court rulings are and why I think we should always be paying attention to this. I mean, look at what just was at stake. Your financial health through the Fed, all right, the Federal Trade Commission, all right, the Fourth Amendment was at stake. The fact that Constitution, that elections can now be drug on, gives the deep state more of an opportunity to cheat. So you should always be paying attention to what the Supreme Court is doing. And I want to point out that just 2 years ago and one day, I was on pins and needles waiting for a Supreme Court decision. 2 years ago today, all right, Fisher versus the United States came down. And the case was argued on April 16th, 2024, and it held, the 6-3 opinion written by Chief Justice John Roberts narrowed the scope of the federal obstruction statute, 18 U.S.C. 1512 C2, which was used against January 6 defendants like myself. It held that the law required them to have impaired or attempted to impair the availability or integrity of the records, documents, or objects used in an official proceeding. It couldn't just be that, oh, hey, they walked through a building for 37 minutes and we hate him because he's a conservative military officer, so let's put him in jail for 2 years and try and kill him. Okay, that's how important that Supreme Court decision was. Go ahead, Dr. A.
Larry, I just want to reiterate what you just said. For those of us who have had our rights attacked by the liberals in this country, whether it's directly as you suffered through the January 6th persecution, whether it's what I went through for 8 years being pursued by the IRS as a conservative, that goes back to my previous job, and living in liberal states like California, Hawaii, and others, what we've dealt with our Second Amendment rights being taken away. We have felt the impact of SCOTUS rulings more than others because our rights are being identified as having been, obscured or taken away, and they are protecting the rights under the Constitution. And for that, I'm eternally grateful.
No, I'm with you. I mean, guys, I got to be honest with you. The left uses power as a cudgel. The right conserves power, ergo conservatives, all right, and tries to stay within the boundaries of the Constitution. But make no mistake, if we have President Newsom, President Whitmer, President Shapiro, they can and will pervert laws to imprison you. So my advice is to stay armed and stay frosty. All right, I'm going to wrap up today with just a quick going through a segment that caught my eye because I kind of wanted to look at potentially historic battles that occurred. Now, on the morning of June 28th, yesterday, in 1776, Thomas Jefferson and the Committee of Five presented a draft of the Declaration of Independence to John Hancock. Now, here's an interesting thing. Could you name even 2 other members of the Committee of Five? I can name 3, but I can't tell you the 4th one right now. Okay, so the Committee of Five that drafted the Declaration of Independence, we've got John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and I believe it was Robert Livingston. And there's another guy that was a cobbler from Connecticut. And I say that bearing in mind the 1776, the musical. Can't think of his name right now. But again, study your history, know what's going on. So he delivered the draft of the Declaration of Independence to John Hancock. Now, unlike the Turnbull painting, which we should have in the pill somewhere, it was actually fairly pro forma and in line with, consistent parliamentary procedure. But on the same morning, a drastically different scene was unfolding near the port city of Charlestown, South Carolina. A British invasion fleet with 3,000 soldiers and Marines, supported by the warships that they came in on, attacked a fort. It was Fort Sullivan in South Carolina. Now, the rhythmic beat of the drums, once they could see the ships coming over the horizon, made large crowds gather to actually watch the battle. I believe Fort Sullivan is north of the city of Charlestown, and the Brits need to sail through to get into the harbor. So what happened there is the people started to watch, all right, and President John Rutledge, standing on the second floor of the Exchange Building, was out there. And I believe it's actually called the Battery now in Charleston, where you can, I might be getting confused, where you can actually see that. Now, there was a coordinated assault plan because there was a little spit of land where some of British General Clinton's men were supposed to cross an inlet, but they discovered that with the tide out, it was 7 feet deep, not 18 inches. So the foot invasion was not successful, and they had to rely on naval bombardment. The problem for them is that the bombardment was not bad, but the Patriots had lined the fort with palmetto trees, and it is apparently a very spongy type of wood that absorbed the cannon's impact from HMS Thunder. Great name for a ship, by the way. We need a USS Thunder. All right, so British officers later acknowledged that the unusual construction made the fort far more resilient than anticipated. Now, General Moultrie's men were limited in the amount of powder that they had, so they were very careful before they took shots. And each of their shots inflicted heavy damage on the attacking ships, especially the flagship HMS Bristol, which suffered extensive casualties. Nearly every officer on that ship was killed or wounded, including Admiral Parker. Now, a funny story is that one of the shots actually ripped his uniform, leaving his backside exposed, shall we say. Now, during fire, the enemy successfully knocked down the fort's flagstaff, and a Sergeant William Jasper, climbed the ramparts and again recovered the fallen colors and hoisted them on a sponge staff that was used to, plunge in the cannonball and the powder. All right, so his actions became one of the more enduring images of the war. And how many times do Americans fight just to keep that flag up? Now, Clinton attempted, as I said, to cross using flatboats after they tried to cross using that, but they were unsuccessful. This battle went on for 10 hours with the two sides exchanging artillery fire beneath a blazing June sun. All right, and eventually the British fleet withdrew. So this happened on the same day that the Declaration of Independence was delivered. The fort was named Fort Moultrie in honor of its commander. The palmetto tree, which saved the fort, became a symbol of the state and is now on its flag, and South Carolina is known as the Palmetto State. The victory provided a powerful boost to the Patriot cause and delayed major British operations in the South until December of 1778. Now, why was this interesting to me? I didn't know where the palmetto came from. I didn't know why South Carolina was called the palmetto flag. And so things like this always piqued my interest. But it made me think about July 4th yet again. And so I'm going to ask each of my co-hosts, all right, to quickly go through. And when you think of July 4th, what is the first thought that pops into your mind? It can be hot dogs, it can be fireworks, it can be history. I'll start with you, Dr. A.
Sorry, Skipper now.
Okay, what about you, Rox?
Mostly fireworks, kind of simulating the war, for those of us who have been to war and they know, but also, I guess just the whole part of freedom. But those fireworks, as beautiful as they are, kind of are like similar to, that's us fighting for our country. And every time I see them, I just remember that and I get a little teary-eyed every time.
Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right. What about you, Southern?
Well, Roxy just stole my answer, because mine is freedom.
Nope.
What I always think of when I think of July 4th is just freedom.
It is.
And yes, I cry at fireworks.
I will tell you, it is never, ever to be underrated. When I was in prison, I happened to be near a window and they asked me if I wanted to look at the fireworks. And I was like, no, I can't do it. And it's for the same reason, because of what it means to me. All right, Dr. A, you go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. The freedom. I told you it's our family. We do it. We get together every year. I mean, it means so very much to me. It always has. And it means a lot coming on our 250th this year, even though I have a huge amount of heart concern for those in D.C. right now.
I'm definitely worried as well. I think, again, terrorists like to hit us on days like this. So what comes to mind for me, all right, is, John Adams said that illuminations would basically be in every American town, meaning fireworks. He said that a long time ago, and I can tell you, flying over this country on July 4th, which I did when I worked for American Airlines, you do see the fireworks from up high. They don't look as spectacular, but it was kind of stirring to see that John Adams' vision of illuminations being coast to coast was actually true. All right, but what comes to mind for me is that these two men, the North Star and the Southern Star of our revolution, between conservative, more central government and individual liberty in Thomas Jefferson, these two men were taken from the earth on the same day, 50 years to the day after they adopted the Declaration of Independence. What are the odds that the two primary architects, intellectual architects of our rebellion, would perish on the same day? That's what I think of on July 4th. So I'm going to close with a few quotes, all right? So bear with me as I scroll down because we had a couple more segments. I didn't know how long that was actually going to take. All right, so the first quote comes from Malcolm X. You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. You don't know how true that is until it's been taken from you. All right, the second quote is by John F. Kennedy. The American by nature is optimistic. He is experimental, an inventor and a builder who builds best when called upon to build greatly. This is the man that issued the challenge. We choose to go to the moon and do the other things not because it is easy, but because it is hard. That was an American president. That was a clarion call that we should never forget. We are the only nation that has put men on the moon. All right, another quote. May we think of freedom not as the right to do as we please, but as the opportunity to do what is right. Duty, responsibility. Until those things are in balance with rights and privileges, America will continue to founder. The last quote is from Harry Truman. America was not built on fear. It was built on courage, on imagination, and an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. That's what I love about everyone in this audience. That's what I love about my co-hosts. That's what I love about this country, my fellow Texans, and I see it every day when I travel and watch people work. An unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. We just need leaders to challenge us and move us in the right direction. All right, God bless all of you. God bless this country, and I do mean it. Simply take time on the 4th of July to give thanks to our Creator. Don't ask for anything. Just give thanks to Him for the 250 years and for the grace that you have to be born in this nation. Do you realize how lucky you are? Cecil Rhodes said in the 19th century to be born an Englishman was to have won the lottery of life, and he was right back then. And in the 20th century, and hopefully to continue into the 21st century, to have been born an American is to have won the lottery of life. Give thanks to your Creator. God bless each and every one of you, and have a great 4th.